PAWA, so please bear with me while I just go through what PAWA does. PAWA's main focus is to support teenage girls' education in Asia. And here at PAWA, we feel very strongly that the most effective way to progress the UN Sustainable Development Goal of gender parity is by ensuring more girls are educated. All development indicators can be improved by girls' education. Now, Ramya is going to screen a short video which was made a year ago for our 10th anniversary, which will show you how we achieve this. So Ramya, would you like to show the video, please?
My dream is teaching.
I want to become a doctor. My ambition is to be a dentist.
Government job.
I want to be an animator.
I want to be a lawyer because it's my mom's dream and now it's my dream. And I want to give justice to all those people who are starving for justice and who are dying just because they did not get justice.
I would love to be a doctor and make people feel happy about what I am doing.
Create a girl.
Change our life. Break the cycle.
Thank you, PAWA.
Great. Now, as you saw in the video, we are completely run by volunteers, and we're a passionate, dedicated collective of women who want to make a difference. I would like to read you something that Melinda Gates wrote because it is so relevant to PAWA's start and growth over the last 10 years. I'm going to put my glasses on for this so I don't miss anything. Not only do women's movements bring a sense of urgency to the work that they do, their deep knowledge of the customs that shape their communities offers important insight into solutions. When development policies are set from the top down, even though they may be well-intentioned, their impact doesn't always reach everyone equally. Women's organizations help drive progress that is more inclusive and sustainable. If we want to change the world, we should invest in the people who already are. That will mean challenging ourselves to do a better job of finding and funding grassroots women's movements. Right now, less than 2% of global funding for gender issues goes to local women's organizations. So very insightful words by Melinda Gates, and it really encompasses a lot of what we believe at PAWA. Now this year, the UN Day of the Girl theme is My Voice, Our Equal Future. So we wanted you to hear from one of the brilliant girls that PAWA supports. PAWA supports some amazing girls across Asia, and one of the privileges of being a PAWA trustee is that I get to hear their stories directly. And after 10 years, we are now hearing some wonderful stories about girls who, despite tough obstacles, with our help and support, are becoming confident, brave, and empowered girls who will help change their communities, and hopefully change the world. Today is a celebration of what these girls have achieved, but it is becoming ever more clear that the COVID-19 pandemic has had a negative impact on girls' futures everywhere. The economic hardships have meant that families have to think about basic survival rather than the luxury actually of education. Child marriage is on the rise. Girls are needed at home for chores and childcare. During COVID-19, 89% of schools closed in the world. For these girls, education not only provides learning support, but also food, protection, and community care. So PAWA is very concerned that the progress we have made over the last 10 years will be badly disrupted during this crisis. Therefore, it is so crucial that we continue to ensure girls' access to education is kept open and they have a future to look forward to. Today, we aim to highlight what they are capable of achieving with education. Ideally, we would like to be able to introduce you to all the girls we have supported, all 12,000 of them over the 10 years. But let's start with Shamnan, who has had the benefit of PAWA's support over the last few years. The project in Cambodia, run by Ponheri Lee, has also showed great resilience at adapting during this time of crisis. I will not say any more, as you will hear all about it from our next speaker. We have a wonderful PAWA Projects Committee of 5 members, Valeria, Tina, Mayumi, Veena, and Sheila, headed by Phyllis Hatfull, and they work really hard at monitoring and keeping in touch with all our projects and our girls to ensure that they're running well and the funds are being spent properly. Today, we're going to hear from Sheila, who is the PAWA project leader for Ponheri Lee. Sheila, over to you.
Thank you, Zian. Yes, so Ponheri Lee is Cambodian, and her moving personal story and vision for the future can be seen on the Ponheri Lee Foundation website. It started very small back in 2006 with one child who Ponheri wanted to work with. She was also a teacher herself by background, and it's grown to an independent charity which assists children and young people from the remote northern areas of Cambodia, almost 2,800 a year they estimate. And they work with them to help them realise their potential through education. And there's quite a lot to do. In fact, over 50% of the population in Cambodia is under 18, and half the population is living in rural villages is illiterate. The foundation takes a holistic approach, so as well as supporting developing education, they work with the communities and looking at aspects such as healthcare and nutrition and transport. As the project developed, they became aware that one of the issues was access to secondary education or high school, and that was particularly an issue for girls, and in the rural areas, a mix of just being able to physically get to school, and also costs, because the government schools take place during the morning, and further classes are required in the afternoon, but those need to be paid for. So the project decided to set up a dormitory in Siem Reap, and they work to provide a safe space for about 20 or 19 girls a year to go there. And they go there from ages 15 to 18. And they're very special girls. As Ian said, we work with many special girls, and these ones have to be have potential and talent academically, and they also need to have the resilience and motivation to make the most of this opportunity, and to leave their friends and family behind, and to be living at in the dormitory during the academic year. We've supported PAWA has supported the dormitory since 2013. The trustees saw it as a very good fit with the charity's objectives. Since I've been involved the last 2 years, I've come to learn a little bit about the day for the girls, and it's an extremely full day. We'll see this in a moment with the video we're going to show. But they get up very early in the morning. They then have they go to the government school for classes through to lunchtime. And then in the afternoon, they go to supported supplementary classes, which can be a whole range of things from physics through to Khmer literature to business skills. And the Pawn Hiri Foundation supports them in that. And then they have further input as well, and that's where PAWA has come in, because since we've started supporting the education programs, we've provided computer classes, IT classes, which have been very relevant in this year, obviously. We also have supported English classes with a native speaker. And we offer, we support the life skill workshops that happen at weekends, which are an important part of the programme because the girls are high achievers. 100% of graduating girls so far has achieved scholarships to go to university and or tertiary education, but it's quite a big transition. So these life skill workshops help them to make that transition. So for the annual meeting this year, Pawn Hiri Foundation very helpfully made a video of a day in the life of the girls. So you'll see, I think you'll see this now, and you may be able to spot Chamlan in it. So I'll leave that with you. Rami, would you please show the video now?
Do you like waking up at 5 a.m. for yoga?
Yes, I like it because when we do yoga, it makes me have good health and strong body.
I see the sun when it shines, and others are my only see.
We are going to school.
What grade are you guys in?
We are in grade 12. We are in grade 11. We are in grade 10. Hello. Good morning.
What did you study today?
Today I study chemistry 2 hours and biology 1 hour and Khmer 2 hours.
Today I study Khmer, chemistry, history, math.
When the sun goes down, she's got me feeling each other. No wonder she sees the frown.
Now we are in Khmer class. We start from 1 until 2 o'clock.
And I've ignored all the times that you might have wanted something.
Now I'm starting mathematics class from 2 until 3 o'clock.
What type of math are you learning today?
I'm learning algebra. Now I'm studying physics class from 3 until 4.
Do you enjoy physics class?
Yes, I do.
Why do you enjoy physics class?
Because I feel happy when I study it, and at my school my score is more higher than before. Now I'm studying chemistry from 4 until 5 o'clock.
How was chemistry?
It was great, I like it. Now I'm studying biology from 5 until 6 o'clock.
Who is your favorite teacher or teachers?
My favorite teachers are Khmer teacher and English teacher.
What teachers do you dislike?
No, I don't have.
Why?
Because I left them all.
I see the sun when it shines, and others.
Name 3 places that are recommended for tourists to visit in Cambodia.
Why do you need to study English, and why is it important?
I need to study English because it is one of the most important languages in the world, and a lot of countries use English to communicate, and in the future I want to work with foreigners.
Is it harder or easier to study with a foreign teacher compared to a Khmer English teacher?
First, it was hard for me, but now, after I spent time with her for 2 years, I can understand what she's teaching.
Thank you, Ramya. I know perhaps some of you have seen that film before, but I think it was a lovely reminder of life pre-COVID. And obviously COVID did arrive in Cambodia. The schools were closed March the 16th, and in our the area that the foundation works, problems, it was compounded by a very big drought and the start of the hot season. In terms of the dorm girls, the younger girls went back home to their villages, and some of the final year 12, also did that, but 5 girls stayed on. They were allowed to do that by their families, and they were supported by the project. And it must have been a difficult decision. They were leaving their families behind at that very stressful and uncertain time. Ponhiri Lee Foundation itself went back to supporting the communities a lot, and because there were essential needs in terms of food and hygiene education. The project's very good at keeping us informed about what's happening, and we got some lovely photos of one of the dorm graduates who was actually in the 3rd year at university, Chani, who went home when her university was closed. And we have pictures of her working, helping the village to spread the word about hygiene with the small children in between continuing her studies online. We continued our support for the dorm, for the children, for the teenage girls that were there working, and they're obviously what they were doing and how they worked had to change very quickly, and they became very swift at using online resources, either provided through the government schools or through additional support, and things like the Kumpi Academy, which provides additional support, but in Khmer language. I think really we should move to welcoming Chamnam. We were so delighted when she agreed to take part in this event. We hoped it would be a live interview, but she's right in the middle of preparing for her graduation exams and for her university entrance exams as well. So it really wasn't possible to do with the time and also the potential network issues. So we're very thankful though that she did record an interview with us. Also Laurie Carlson, the executive director who made the video and who you'll hear, and Laurie may be with us today, so if so, thank you for that, and hello Laurie. So Chamnam has been living in the dorm for 3 years. As you'll hear, she came from a village 2 hours drive away, and so she's been supported by the foundation and by PAWA for the last 3 years, and is one of the girls that stayed on during the lockdown. So I think we should now hear from Chamnam herself. Ramna, if you could please play the interview. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Chamnam. I study in grade 12 at Tanjanduri High School. I'm 18 years old and I live in the dorm at Siem Reap.
Chamnam, can you tell us where your family lives? Where's your family home?
My parents, they live at Prabhir province. It's around 2 hours by car.
How far away is Rayong School from your house?
It's around 20 kilometers.
Where did you live when you went to Rayong?
At Rayong, I live at the house that my father built for us.
I remember that little house is a very small house. I think you don't have any electricity.
Yes.
No toilet?
Yes.
And not very much food there?
Yes.
How old were you when you came there to live alone in that little house?
At that time I was 13 years old.
And how old was your brother?
And my brother was 12 years old.
What was the hardest thing about living in that small house?
When I lived with my brother, I didn't know how to cook, and because when I lived with my parents, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And my mother was already cook.
Yeah.
And also every day we ate only boiled eggs and fried eggs.
Boiled eggs and rice?
Yes.
Every day.
Yeah.
How long did you live in that little house?
It was 5 months.
5 months.
Then my father contact with teacher Sindri to ask for us to stay at the dorm.
So PLF had, at that time, had a dormitory next door to your little house?
Yes.
Yeah? And you saw that we had a lot of students there also come from the faraway place to
Yes.
study. And so your father came to ask if you could live there. Why did he want you to live there?
Because he saw that he didn't have enough money to pay for us
Yeah.
to go to when to study at the dorm. There was enough food, and I can got school uniform, school supplies, and new bike, and I feel safe.
Safe, yeah. So how long did you stay at the dorm in Srayong?
3 years.
3 years. And when you finished grade 9 and you passed the grade 9 exam, what was next for you?
I went to live at Siem Reap.
So when you came to Siem Reap, what was different about Siem Reap from when you were at the dorm in Srayong?
At Siem Reap, the first time I was afraid of the way from home to school because there were a lot of cars, a lot of motorbikes.
A lot of traffic.
Yes.
Uh-huh. So were you scared?
Yes.
Yes. Are you scared now?
No.
No. You're in grade 12 now, so in December you will finish grade 12. And then what's next for you?
I will go to study at university.
When we had the COVID situation in Cambodia and the schools closed in March, what did you think then?
When the school closed, the students have to study online.
Did you ever study online before?
No, I didn't. It's very difficult because I think some students they don't have smartphone, and some students they have smartphone but they don't have time to study. They are busy to have their parents to do some work.
Yeah.
And anything.
Yeah. The situation in Siem Reap has normally a lot of tourists to see Angkor Wat. So a lot of people in the town, their family doesn't have any more money because no tourists, right?
Yes.
So a lot of the students like that, they need to go to work for their family, right? So you didn't go to work. Instead, you stayed here at the dorm since March and studied online with your group, yeah? Can you tell me how that was? How was it in the beginning? How was it compared to now?
The beginning was difficult because we never studied online before, and after that we can study better than before.
Yeah. Do you think that in the future, when the girls come back from the village from grade 10 and 11 for next year, do you think they should continue the online classes?
Yes, they should.
They should?
Yes.
You think it's helpful? In your future, what kind of job do you want to have, and what do you want to study in university?
In the future, I want to be a chemistry teacher.
And if we want to be a chemistry teacher, where do we have to go to study?
We have to go to Phnom Penh.
We have to go to Phnom Penh. Do you know the name of the university where you need to go?
Yes, Royal University at Phnom Penh.
If you want to say something, I know that you have one brother still at home. You are the oldest, but you have your youngest brother at home who start to grade 7. Do you have some advice that you would give to someone like him or anybody who has to work hard to go to school?
I have some advice to generation. They should try to study hard and don't screw up. There are no problem that we can't resolve it, and do what they love. And if we want to build the country, we should build ourselves.
Is there anything else you want to tell us today?
No, that's all.
Okay, thanks for talking to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Hello. Sheila, would you like to say anything else, or?
No, I think that's fine. Thank you.
That was great to hear about Shamna's journey, and wonderful that she is still able to go on to university. We're now going to move on to our next speaker, who's Cecilia Zhao. Cecilia was born in China and is one of our PAWA 10 Women, a series we ran to commemorate our 10th anniversary by highlighting 10 inspirational women. Cecilia, like Shamnan, also experienced the difficulty of having to leave home at age 9 to pursue her education and her dreams. Cecilia is now an Oxford University graduate in geography and pursuing an exciting career in finance. She uses her influence amongst young women to motivate and empower them, as well as promoting the need to improve women's access to education through her work with the NGO China Youth of Tomorrow. So we'll now hear directly from her about her educational journey. Cecilia, over to you.
Great, thank you, Zahan. It's great to see everyone today, and very happy to be celebrating the International Day of Girls today. And so I think the key theme of my speech today is kind of just illustrating the kind of education journey I've had personally, and the key message as well as the lesson. Is everything okay? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So in case you haven't missed the beginning, what I said was that I hope today's speech is going to be firstly about my personal journey, and then the lessons I've learned, which I hope to be helpful to anyone who's currently either starting university or in college thinking about their potential next steps for education. So firstly, I think looking back in my education, so just a bit of a background, and as Zahan mentioned, I was born in China and I migrated to the UK at the age of 9 alone. And so it obviously hasn't been the most smooth journey, given that fact that I couldn't speak a word of English when I moved. And I was in fact placed in the bottom set for all of my subjects. So hopefully this kind of experience maybe have some sort of similarities to the journeys of the girls who are watching today. And I hope that we can all do progress throughout the journey together. So I guess my first thing that I realized is that the ability to explore and push for your potentials. I've not always been the best performing, or you could say the smartest girl in the classroom when I was in China. And even though there were teachers and parents who were always pushing me, be like, you should get the good results, you should be seeking the most marks, I didn't really have a lot of internal motivation and self-belief. And it was only when I started to leave my comfort zone and being in England alone that I wanted to actually prove myself that I have the potential to achieve something. And then you realize with every little step, I can see myself improving. And I think that is the beauty of education, because despite all of these inequalities, education is actually one thing where you can see all the input you put in, all the effort, you actually will receive the results and they will build up. And so really, I think the first point is that generally try to believe in yourself and push for your own potentials. And that's when dreams like Oxford University will no longer just be a dream, but it could be a reality as well. I think the second point is about curiosity and passion, because being clever and good, what you get will get you somewhere in life. But I think the underlying factor for you to find what you really want to do and do it well is down to curiosity. So as we know, education structural inequalities clearly do exist, but there are information asymmetries that we can also break down ourselves. And so just back on the personal story, I think from the school that I was in the north of England, there weren't that many people who studied at Oxford, and there weren't many people who studied geography at Oxford. So I really didn't know many people who had stories or experiences that I could learn from. But I would always spend my downtime, weekends, after school to watch either admission videos online or feel passionate to pursue. Yeah, thank you. And let me just quickly, yeah, thank you. And so when I did get a chance to actually meet someone who was at Oxford, I always wanted to utilize opportunity to find out more. So even though it was like a long dream that was installed in me, I was never that certain that whether I could get in or not. But it was about the passion of pursuing and opportunities and understanding the ways and the steps for you to get there. Whereas on the other hand, I can see students who have always been quite clever and been privileged enough to have opportunities, but they've never shown such passion towards either a subject and a school, which is okay because we're trying to figure ourselves out. But I think when it does come to application process and interviews, you do see the difference between someone who's generally just passionate and enthusiastic about their subjects and someone who might just be clever. And so I guess my summary is that you want to push yourself and use your curiosity and passion to find what you really love doing and do it well. And my last point is about social responsibility. I think growing up in education allows you to understand who you are and what you're passionate about and what you stand for. And that is brilliant. But I think from university and beyond, you'll still realize that the experience and the multitudes of inequalities in this world, whether that's intergenerational inequality of climate change, that's racial, gender inequalities. And then I hope that through the journey of you improving yourself, eventually you would actually want to be part of the bigger picture of helping other people to be able to help to create a more equalized society. And that's obviously why I'm here today as well. I think I've been privileged enough with my education that I got. And I hope that with this and then my perception of this world, the value that I want to add to society, I can help more girls and more Asian girls like me to have access opportunities to help even more. And so in conclusion, I think no matter where you are, we should always push and explore our potentials. You will be amazed at what you can do. And stay curious and be passionate in the path that you want to pursue. And let's create value, not just for ourselves, but everyone else in the society. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia. It's really nice to hear from you. And I'm going to open up and find out if anyone has any questions that they'd like to pose to Cecilia or to Sheila or to myself about PAWA. I'd like to actually ask Cecilia a question myself, because it's what we find is that the girls, we're hoping that the girls that we're helping to educate will then become the sort of agents of change for the next generation. And do you find within your generation that, you know, girls who've now had the benefit of education are doing more and more to try and affect change in terms of girls' access to education and gender parity?
No, I think absolutely. I think we're the kind of generation growing up and then looking at whether that's news articles and people being more aware of the issue. And so I think with our girls, it's kind of installed in us from quite an early stage of the potential inequalities that exist and the things that other older generations are doing to help and improve. And now finally, we got to a stage where we have the platform of universities, whether that's societies within university or joining NGOs like PAWA outside of university. And you can really see that whether that's the scale of NGOs that are kind of doing that kind of work and the intensity of people's involvement, it has all increased over the past years. And so I really do think is a bright future for women. I think it will get better. And even from someone who works in the finance industry, which is traditionally quite male dominated, we can see there's going to be more diversity measures already. And we can see there's like women networking events and women empowerment groups in different corporations. So I definitely think things are getting better. There's a lot more that we can do, but we're heading the right direction.
Thank you, Cecilia. And do you think there are enough do you find there are enough role models, especially along Asian women, for women of the younger generation to look up to now? Or is there more awareness of what Asian women have achieved in the past?
Yeah, I think there's always been role models historically, but I think there might be in typical industry, whether that's the STEM projects or the sciences, that may be less representative of women. And this is something that is still changing. Like we can see, for example, a news article being released that Goldman had just appointed one of their women to be head of division. So you can really see that it is improving. I think even though we may not have reached the most satisfying level, but it's something that people are actively aware and trying to have a more equalized representation of.
Great, thank you, Cecilia. I'm now going to bring in Laurie, because I know she's here and she's joined us all the way from Cambodia, and she very kindly made that wonderful interview with Shaman just this week. And so, Laurie, would you like to say a few words? I know you're there. Laurie, can you hear me? You just have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thanks for letting me, get into your business and understand a little bit more about PAWA. Obviously, we've been working together for some years and done quite a lot of work over that time. And I don't know that I really have anything particular to say. It's been an interesting year, that's for sure. And I'm really proud of our grade 12 girls that have stuck it out, staying in that house since March, trying to figure out how to get themselves graduated from school. They're completely on track. They're back at school now only for 1 month, but their scores in school are very high. So they've done a really good job with this whole new world of trying to figure out how to study online and sort of self-teach and all of that. We're so proud of them that what they've done. The silver lining in all of the COVID crisis for us here was to really push the envelope on digital delivery of meaningful education to children. And we're working in very remote communities. And so it opens up a lot of channels for us. And what we've learned over the last 7 years is going to help us, I think, be able to really leverage all of that and be able to do some interesting things moving forward. So it's been a difficult time in the last 7 months for us, but there have been a lot of silver linings. And I think a few years from now, we'll look back and say, wow, that was actually, well, we'll always say it was terrible, but we'll also say that there was a lot that we learned during this time that we will, I'm sure, put to really good use. Yeah. And we appreciate very much PAWA always really supporting our technology projects for these girls, because I think that's why they were so successful with it. They already had a pretty high level of digital literacy, and therefore it was kind of an easy progress into e-learning solutions. If we hadn't laid all that groundwork, I don't know how successful they would have been. So that was really great, and thank you.
Thank you, Laura. I mean, one of the reasons PAWA's supported your projects through the years, and Henry Lee, is that you've always been really amazing at adapting to difficult situations. If things came up, you would find ways of getting over it. And it seems as if you have to, especially in the world we're living in now. And you've always been persevered and made sure that the girls come first as well, which is great. We don't seem to have any questions on the chat. I mean, if people would like to unmute themselves to ask a question, please do. Otherwise, anyone like to say anything? Otherwise, I'm going to now
hand over. I have a question for Cecilia, because she came from China at such a young age of 9. You must have had a lot of help over the years. So have you had anything like PAWA helping you, or was there a specific individual who's been a real help to you?
No, yeah, absolutely. I think throughout my years, I managed to have adopted grandparents who are actually my neighbors. And they were like a lovely couple who would take me in for a cup of tea, a nice dinner, and we'll talk about the Yorkshire traditions. And that's like a way of not just acting as literally like family members, like when I have difficult times, but also a very good way of getting to know the culture, getting better with my English levels as well. And I've been quite lucky where this is like before the one-child policy. So my parents has many siblings as well. And so a few of my cousins have also been studying in England. And so throughout my time here, I've also had my older cousins here who can look after me, even though we're quite geographically dispersed around England. So yeah.
Great, thank you. I've got one question here actually from Haliza, and she's asked, what help did PAWA provide to Shaman and her school, and for how long? Sheila, would you like to take that question? You need to unmute yourself. Sorry, Sheila.
Yes, well, I'm sure Laurie can help me if I get this wrong, but PAWA helped when Chamlan moved from her previous school into Simrit to join the dormitory, because we support the girls' dormitory in Simrit, which is for the older level girls, year 10, 11, 12. And I believe she came in at year 10. And so we supported through, as I said, we have 3 strands in previous years, supporting the English language lessons that the girls have in the dormitory, and computer classes, and then these special workshops, sort of life skill workshops.
Great, thank you. And we've actually got another question on the chat. Let me just check it. It says, a question for the speakers. What do you think is the single most barrier that prohibits girls from achieving their dreams? If you have to pick one, would that be education? Cecilia, would you like to try and answer that? Oh, unfortunately, we don't have Shamnan here to answer that. But I don't know if that question to me and Sheila and Laurie as well. But Sheila, Cecilia, why don't you try and?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult question because I asked for the single most barrier. Unfortunately, education equality is pretty varied, depends on geography and depends on the positionality of the girls. But I think, as mentioned earlier about role models and then women being less represented in certain industries, I do think is this stereotype of where women tend to belong, because we have all these cultures where even now in 2020, they have a typical image of where women should be placed in the household and what certain jobs should be for different genders. And so I think this strong traditional cultural perspective, whether you say is regressive or not, is something that's stopping girls to dream about those dreams, to have these potentials that they can't really explore. And so I think if we have to pace it down to the single most barrier, I think it will just be the stereotypes that rooted in cultures. Yeah.
Laurie, would you like to add to that in the perspective of Shamnan and her generation?
Yeah, I mean, after 15 years of working with these girls that are coming from very remote areas where, as Cecilia mentioned, there's quite a lot of a very narrow window of what women should be going about the business of doing. And they don't really have any exposure to anything other than that. And so I would say that in our case in Cambodia, working with girls from very remote areas, that the biggest hindrance against girls moving themselves forward is their own perception of what they should be about, what they should be going about doing. And Chamnan is going to be a chemistry teacher. She will. It's her best subject. She's an amazing chemistry. It's the absolute thing that she should do. But how would she ever have known that if she would have only ever finished primary school and then gone into field labor? She would be married already with children. She's 18. She would be married already with children and working in a field. She would never have known that she's a chemistry nerd. So access to education certainly can let you understand, oh, wow, I'm really good at this. But before you ever get there, you have to imagine that that's okay for you, that that's good for you, that that's something you deserve and that you should pursue. So the first barrier and the biggest barrier, because it is the first barrier, is this concept that they aren't, that's not for them, that that's for everybody else, but not for them. And getting over that takes a bit, but once it's over, off they go. So, yeah.
Thank you, Laurie. I mean, I'd just like to add to that in that I think a lot of barrier to it's actually giving girls a voice. I think once they have a voice to be able to speak about what they'd like, and they need education helps them to achieve this voice. And that sort of comes back now to the theme of the UN is my voice, our equal future. And to close today's event, I'm going to call on the chair of our management committee, who played a big part in putting this all together, Kamal Lakshmi. Would you like to do the closing and thank yous, Kamal? I'll hand over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Zayan. Thank you. So I'm Kamalakshi Mehta. I'm chair of PAWA's management committee. And I just want to start by saying thank you so much to Ponhurli, to Laurie, whom I've nagged and bugged and irritated for several weeks now, and who's done such a fantastic job of putting together that interview. So Laurie, thank you so much. Thank you to Cecilia. Cecilia, to see role models like you. I have 2 young daughters, and for them to see girls like you who've achieved what you have is fantastic. And so thank you for joining us today. It was really great to have you on. Thank you, Sheila, for shepherding our project Ponhurli through all of this and continuing to work with them and the amazing work that the projects committee does. And Zehan, thank you for basically spearheading the whole thing. And definitely, last but not least, is Ramya, our fantastic tech master, without whom none of this would be possible. Ramya, thank you so much. Ramya has to make up for the deficit of technological awareness and knowledge of the rest of us. So thank you, Ramya. Do stay tuned to what we're doing next, as this is a new reality for us as well. We're doing, as Zehan said, this is our first Zoom event. We have another one coming up in November, and we will be sending you details of that. We've got Sajila Kershi, who is a broadcaster, comedian, writer, and who has been taking an award-winning show called Immigrant Diaries around the country, and who has offered to help us put together a special show for PAWA, which we hope to host on a Zoom event later in November. So please do look out for that. We will be sending out details hopefully in the very near future. I just want to say, Zehan said this as well, Laurie has pointed it out. We're in some very tricky times just now. I'm in India right now, and the newspapers are full of horror stories of girls forced into child marriage, girls forced into labor. The UN is estimating at least 24 million children will be dropping out of school. Millions more will be forced into labor or other very undesirable situations. We could be moving backwards over here. And I really believe that PAWA's work has never been more important. And so please do support us in any way you can. We have an amazing group of women, all of whom are volunteers, all of whom who give so much to PAWA and to trying to make a little bit of difference in the lives of girls across Asia. So please do support us in all our endeavors, and we will keep you posted. You can follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. So please do follow us. Keep abreast of what we're doing, and if any of you would like to, please do donate. You can donate through the website, or you can donate through a text message. Ramya, if you could maybe give everyone the there we go. That's all you need. That's all you need to donate. So please do consider donating to us. Please do consider supporting us, those of who aren't already friends and supporters. And I just want to end by saying this is something really worth doing. We can make a difference to girls' lives. And now more than ever, we need your support. So thank you so much for joining us today, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. Hope that went well with a couple of glitches from my end as well, but yeah.
No, I'm still actually, there's some in typing on the chat replies to people.
Yeah, and also still some people are trying to actually join now.
Do you think they got the timing wrong?
Might be, actually.
Yeah, they've left now. Okay.
I recorded the session anyway. Let me stop.